pretty rocky start to our road trip.
At least it has got a name though, rather than just a number.
That's true. But it has got a number as well.
Oh, good.
Welcome to episode 3 of Ignition Cars and Coffee podcast. 3 weeks in now, you would expect that we know what we're doing, but I'm not quite sure. Hopefully the audio on this one will be better than previous times as we've had a few issues, but slowly getting there. So as last week, we've got myself, Lewis Gregory, Edward Richmond, Chris Lee and Phil Hesketh on the chat. We're the people behind the Ignition Cars and Coffee events that are monthly in Stamford that some of you will be aware of, and if you're not, you should perhaps come along. So we're going to go straight into our conversation topics this week. So we always start with our week in cars, so let's go for that. I think Phil's had quite an interesting week this week, is that right?
I always like to try and have an interesting week, and this week I've made it quite interesting by going on a road trip with 3 acquaintances. Quite a varied selection of cars. We went firstly up through Yorkshire via Buttertubs to the Tanhill Inn, the highest pub in UK. Went there, had a bite to eat. From there up to Ambleside, and then we took yet more scenic routes, trying to avoid motorway all the way up into Scotland with a brief stop in the Lowlands, and then finished off with the old military road, which we did. A very exciting road. The cars we took were a BMW M2, which was mine, Lewis's old 4C, driven by Ollie.
The one in that picture behind Chris.
That very car, probably, yes.
Yeah.
A very surprising car that did really well was quite an old 2010 Porsche Cayman 3.4, which did surprisingly well, keeping up with the 2 newer cars. Did really well. And the other one was a GT86, 87, which didn't do very well at all.
Was that a struggle?
But it was a fantastic weekend of driving. We did 1,000 miles in 3 days. Very good.
I'm not jealous at all, as I was doing my garden. So yeah. Anyway, Ed, have you had much in your week in cars?
I've had a couple of drives out. I took the Corrado to a ploughing match at the weekend, which was nice.
How did it
so
do?
the Corrado did about 100 miles. Got a bit warm in the massive traffic jams. It turns out ploughing is more popular than I anticipated. And then took a drive up to the Peaks in the BMW yesterday to meet Chris for a bit of a hike. So yeah, mostly driving. Haven't really done anything with fixing cars this week, so it's been quite nice.
Are you a big fan of ploughing?
I love ploughing.
I've heard.
Did you actually plough some furrows yourself, Ed?
No, I just watched a tiny bit.
Oh, you're into that, are you?
Yeah.
Fair enough, each their own. What about you, Chris?
Less car. I suppose I cleaned the 350Z again, but van-wise, radiator and steering pump replacement, and then a test drive up to the Peaks. So not really much in cars.
Fair enough. Well, you'll remember the last 2 episodes, for the 1 or 2 people that have watched it, that I've been fixing an Alfa Romeo 147 GTA that I bought recently. The first week I was working on the replacement cam belt because the belt snapped, and the second week I thought the cam belt had gone again. I think I said that last week, but since then I found out that's not the case, and actually a coil pack just had come loose and it was just running on 5 cylinders. So I'd half stripped it down before I spotted the loose connection on the coil pack and thought, I wonder if it's that. And so yeah, that's all healthy. And my 1978 Ferrari 308 GTB has been a bit poorly since we went to Sardinia in it. The diff has been making a noise. We thought it might be a CV joint. We changed. It wasn't that. It's the diff, the expensive end. So I've not had a lot of luck with Ferrari garages over the years. And I don't know whether it's just for most Ferrari owners are quite wealthy and they don't use their cars very much, so they get a different kind of service from what I want from a garage. I don't know if that's a fair statement. But, I speak to a few and they're like, oh, this is going to be, expensive, and the parts for a new diff for a 308 are sort of, £10,000 plus. But when I had a Ferrari 348 before, I had problems with the gearbox on it, and I spoke to Mike at QV London, quite well-renowned guy. Some of the YouTubers use him. We've had 308s and things before. And he had a fix on my 348, which, again, was about £10,000 less than everyone else was quoting. And I called him up and he said, oh, yeah, it's a common thing on the 308s. You can't buy the diffs anymore. But I modify 355 diffs, and they're readily available, and he's bought a load when they were cheap. So he quoted me 2,500 all in, including the labour, to do it, which, again, other people were saying it's an engine out job. He's saying it's not. So seems pretty reasonable. So I drove that down to Windsor last week and dropped it in with him, and waiting to hear back. So really looking forward to getting that back and hopefully get some drives in before the salt is on the roads again, which is always the annoyance of old cars, isn't it?
Do you not think that was a bit dangerous driving it down there? You might have done a lot more damage to the diff. You perhaps could have got it trailered, or get the AA perhaps to take it down.
Yes, that would have been useful. Yeah, so I did have it arranged to go with the AA, and they picked the car up at Stamford from Ignition to take down to Windsor, which is straight south. And about 3 hours later, I found out it was in Birmingham, which makes complete sense.
Obviously, it was in a secure compound, I assume.
Yes, they'd parked it in their call centre's car park, and they were going to leave it there for the weekend, which is exactly what you do with a nearly 50-year-old Ferrari. So I had a bit of a debacle, and then they ended up bringing it back to me because they couldn't guarantee they were just going to leave it in the car park all weekend. So I demanded they bring it back, which they did. Actually, interestingly, on an electric lorry, which is the first time I've ever seen one of those. And then they said if I wanted it, because it would be a second recovery, if I wanted it taken down to London, I would then have to pay, because they've already done it once, apparently. So I drove it myself.
Of course.
First bit of bad service I've ever had out of the AA, to be fair. I've been with them for 20 years and they've always been brilliant, but I don't know what's happened recently. All companies seem to just offer rubbish service now. I don't know why. I don't know if you guys have had...
No, I think it's Alfa owners, Ferrari owners, anything Italian. They've got to know you too well now,
It does
Lewis.
Get used quite a bit, my coverage, to be fair.
I think it's post-COVID.
Europe?
Sorry, Ed, what are you saying?
I was just saying, I think post-COVID, it's like nobody cares anymore, do they, in the workplace? So
yeah, absolutely. So anyway, our first subject point this week, because we don't want to bore people to death about what we're up to. We all love cars. It's a big part of our lives, but it's quite hard sometimes to nail it down exactly what it is you love about cars. There's so many different facets to the car hobby. So we try and figure out between us what it is that draws us to it and what it is that we like about it. So, Ed, do you want to tell us what you love about cars and the car hobby?
Yeah, I think what I like about cars has probably changed over the years. I think when I was a boy, probably like most of us, I sort of dreamt about cars. My bedroom was plastered in pictures of cars from various motor shows I went to as a child. And for me, it was always about speed. It was every time I went in my dad's car and he drove quickly, that was like the highlights of my childhood. Seeing it go past 100 was always the target, wasn't it, as a kid?
Does he still do that?
No. None of us speed now, do we? So.
No.
And then I think after I passed my driving test, I suppose I sort of touched on it in my last podcast. I guess it was a sort of adventure and freedom associated with a car, like being able to explore, and you sort of get your driving license, is sort of ticket to Rome, isn't it, almost? And then, as Lewis especially is aware, I travel a lot for work, as obviously we know each other from my main career, and I guess that adventure in cars sort of died off a little bit, and now it's probably more about the sort of relationship with an old car, that sort of love-hate relationship where it's constantly broken, you finally get it working, and you sort of love it for a day, and then something else breaks. And for me, it's always been that sort of that relationship. And then I've also my other main point was I find certain cars work on certain roads. So sometimes you'll drive a car and it just suits a particular set of roads. So finding the right road for the right car for me is sort of peak driving. I guess for me it's really driving, and that I choose my cars for. I choose it for the sort of drive, I guess, and the sort of experiences I want to have in a car. So
could you pinpoint your favourite driving moment in a car? I appreciate that was an out of blue question.
That was out of the blue. It's hard to define. I would say it's a sweeping road. For me, it's not. I'm not the best driver of a group. I'm not trying to claim to be. But I guess a sort of fast sweeping road. Like I like roads where you can sort of get up to speed but come back down and then get into a corner, and it's sort of relatively technical but not to a point where I like to carry speed, I suppose, rather than have to, because all my cars are quite slow. So I guess roads that suit that. A lot of good roads around sort of Sherwood Forest, I think, for doing that sort of driving. So
have you got like a memory though of like a specific driving time or road that you particularly love or experience?
I quite enjoyed that bit of road in Switzerland that we did in your Grand Sport, and we were recording it ready for you to sell it, I believe. And I remember you were recording it whilst I was just trying to make it sound as B80 as possible going down the road. And I remember thinking that was quite a fun bit of driving.
That clip's on our intro, actually. Your driving.
Yeah, that was a good day.
Yeah. I think that was the Suston Pass. It's a good road that is.
Yeah.
Okay. What about you, Chris? Then what drives you into the car world?
Quite similar to Ed, I think, actually, from, obviously getting there with your parents. I can remember when my dad got his first Mercedes, and again, we drove back from Germany. We actually flew out to Stuttgart and brought it back, so that was quite a journey. And obviously you got the Autobahns, so that's an opportunity to get it up to speed and things. And then really, I guess, the freedom, once you learn to drive. And very soon, pretty much, I had friends who had kit cars, so I got quite into kit cars over the years. So probably early, late 90s, got into kit cars and bits and pieces. So that was an awful lot of problem solving, I guess. Problem solving is a big thing for me with cars. So I've always been quite interested in just getting involved, as I have done with your cars over the years, should we say? Swapping out engines and bits and pieces. And then I've always had that dilemma on cars, because obviously I wouldn't say I've owned a selection, but nothing particularly massively exciting. But I've come to the conclusion most of it for me is about the journey, rather than actually necessarily what car I'm in. Yes, I would like to be in something nice, something decent, but the journey is more important. Some of that also comes from, I've done an awful lot of motorsport over the years. I got quite involved in motorsport. So I've done, I did Le Mans for a few years. I used to do press, British Touring Car, British Superbikes and stuff. So I guess I've just done everything over the years, road trips, used to do 2 or 3 road trips sometimes a year, Nürburgring, track car and stuff. So I've just got to that point now where more of it's about the journey than necessarily what car it's in. Don't get me wrong, I'll never forget South of France in your Ferrari 348, bits and pieces like that. That'd probably be peak for me, was South of France, sun out, 36 degrees, roof off. That pretty much sums up probably the pinnacle of it, but it's pretty much more about the journey nowadays.
That sounds good. Well, I'll chirp in with a bit of where it is for me. Similar to Ed in respect of that it's definitely changed. When I was first learned to drive, it was all about freedom and being able to get out. And I grew up going on holiday to Europe. My parents are not very wealthy, but they were a bit adventurous. So, when other people were either flying or staying in England for holidays, we were driving to Spain and South France and Switzerland and Italy and all those kind of places. My dad worked for an Italian firm, so we would go out there quite a bit. And I loved that journey through Europe overnight or whatever it might be, and that really settled into me. And I love that. My happiest place most of the time is, cruising down an auto route or the autostrada or whatever. It started from that freedom thing. I didn't have good cars to start off with. Like Ed, I started with a Polo, even though it's still his dream, apparently. I sort of had a few hot hatches to start off with, and then Japanese cars, and I started to get an appreciation for sports cars at that point, and that's where the enjoyment of twisty roads and mountain passes and things like that really started to come in for me. And as time's gone on, that sort of shifted. I mean, I still love driving. I love driving. I'm not a speed freak like I used to be. I used to be obsessed with that. I'm not really bothered anymore. I like a car to feel like I'm able to push it to its limits, which you can't really do in modern fast cars on roads. So I prefer older cars from that perspective. And it shifted a lot to me, weirdly. And when I was younger, I'd think I'm such a superficial prat for this sort of proposed, but I love how a car looks now. I really love a pretty car, something beautiful, and I sort of almost take that over driving dynamics now, which is crazy because if you asked me that 15 years ago, I would have called myself some interesting words. Anyway, so that's a part that's changed. But the other big thing for me, none of you mentioned this because you actually don't value us a lot, but community and the people in it is really important for me. You guys are, amongst my best friends, and we're all in the car world, and it's an excuse to get together and chat and go for a drive and do stuff like this. And Ignition as well has sort of come from that. That a lot of that was about community and building, networking opportunities through sort of the car world. And I love that, getting together with a group of car people and just talking nonsense, and ideally going for a drive, and hopefully somewhere where there's a nice breakfast at the end of it. So, and noise is a big factor for me now as well. So I like a pretty car that makes a good noise, and if we can all go for a drive together and end up with like a really good fry up at the end of it, that's that's me and cars, really. But and if it's in Europe, we don't get the fry up, we'll have a cross on or something. But a drive down a nice road in Europe would be great. So, what about you, Phil? I mean, can you remember what first made you interested in cars? I'd just
like to say that if we were actually in Europe, you wouldn't have called it a croissant; you'd have called it a croissant.
Oh, croissant. Yeah,
you would have afflicted it with some accent from you.
Outrageous accent.
My car career is slightly different to most of us amongst this chat because that's all I've been involved with since leaving school. So for a long time, they were just a means of earning a living. And it's only quite recently, since certain aspects of my life have changed, that, again, going back to what Lewis just said, I've found the community way more important than the actual cars. It's all about the support, the camaraderie. And then there's a flip side to that as well. As much as I enjoy being with people and seeing people at the events and going to the shows and looking at their cars and thinking how crap some of them are and how good others are, I love getting in a car and driving on my own and listening to, whatever I choose to listen to at the time. Not our podcast, I might add, but I do listen to some podcasts.
You hoping he's going to join us one day?
Oh, he'll be here one day.
He thinks it's crap.
He's right.
And my favourite road would be one that I joined Chris and Lewis on in South France, Red Rock Road. Really enjoyed that. It was a complete eye-opener to me. Never done anything like it before. No need for that, Chris. And really enjoyed it.
Yeah. Red Rock Road, that's one of the special ones. We need to go and do that again, don't we?
Yes.
We should arrange a jaunt for the four of us to go down to Red Rock Road at some point. That would be good. It's pretty spectacular.
We could even do our podcast from there.
We could.
Yeah, that'd be cool.
Let's do that. Shake on it.
And that's it. That's for the week.
Next year, we'll do Red Rock Road. Although, whilst trying to drive down it and do a podcast might result in a quite large crash. Very good. Interesting. Well, Interesting. Fairly similar in some ways than all of our what we like about it. And there's a bit of difference there, isn't there? But yeah, the community is really important to me, and me and Phil have both got sort of backgrounds which would suggest why that is the case as being an important factor to us. But there we go. Okay, a suggested topic from Phil earlier today, which is quite an interesting one. I spend a lot of my time watching car YouTube. Before that, I was obsessed with Top Gear or the Grand Tour or whatever, Wheeler Dealers, whatever, basically any content that I could get hold of on cars. So we thought we'd have a chat about it. What do you like to watch? What's the what's your preferred media, YouTube channel, YouTuber type of program? Because there's so much out there, and maybe some guys who are watching this might think, this is terrible. What else could I watch instead? Well, we can give you some recommendations now. So, Ed, what's your favourite media?
I'm going to save Harry for you, Lewis, because I'm sure you're going to talk about Harry in minute details. So we'll leave that one. I think JM is the first one I want to discuss. I actually think his content's really good, and I think he likes similar sort of cars to me, which always helps.
No, he likes nice ones as well.
He really rates a 330 over an M3, actually. That's what I decided was my favourite. So yeah, I like JM. The other one, the sort of genre of car YouTube in which I follow, which is probably a bit away from the rest of the group, is I quite like these salvage rebuilds channels. So there's two that I follow. There's one called Salvage Rebuilds UK and one called Saving Salvage. And basically they get sort of crash damaged cars and they, as the name suggests, they rebuild them. But you sort of learn quite a lot from watching them. And I don't know, I just quite like seeing a car sort of getting brought back to life. And both of them do the occasional quite interesting car. I tend to sort of skim past it when we're doing a transit van or something. But and then probably less popular also, I quite enjoy Alex. I think his content's quite funny. And I don't know if any of you guys have seen All the Gear, which is a bit of an offshoot of Alex, but I quite enjoy their slightly less car related videos, but with the occasional car thrown in as well. So yeah, that's probably me and YouTube quite well summarised.
I did a marathon of Auto Alex's road trips when I wasn't well a little while ago, and I must admit they were pretty good. I quite enjoyed them.
They're quite funny, aren't they?
I like the way there's just random other people sort of pulled in who from other things, like the Jag guy. What's his name? Tom Lenthal, is it?
Tom Lenthal, yeah.
He was brilliant on one of their trips. He randomly brought one of the cars out that he was supposed to be fixing for them, and he fixed it overnight and drove it out for them or something.
They're doing a hot hatchback road trip at the moment, so they bought 3 hot hatchbacks, so Cleo Williams, a Renault 5 Turbo and a 205 GTI, and that's been quite fun watching them sort of rebuild the cars, ready to take them out. So the Cleo Williams was a Cat D or Cat N or something, and they sort of rebuilt that and brought it back to life. So yeah, they do some quite good content, to be fair.
Once we're all YouTube millionaires through this, then we can do stuff like that as well, can't we?
Yeah, exactly.
What about you, Chris? Have you all about camper vans, or?
I have to admit, my tastes sway from whatever interests me at the time. So yeah, a lot more has been that sort of orientation. But the ones which I do go back to, Auto Alex used to be quite a lot. More and more so, as I say, it's all the gear, isn't it? The one, yeah. As I say, the spin-off, I quite enjoy those two. And then it probably is Car Wizard and Hoovie's Garage. I haven't necessarily watched them that frequently recently, but for a while, Car Wizard was definitely one. Because again, I like solving problems. So Car Wizard was always quite an interesting one, seeing what he had in. And that's then when obviously connected in with Hoovie as well in terms of his car collection and what he had bought and what he shouldn't have bought.
I like Hoovie's Garage. That's really good. And then have you seen Car Trek that sort of came off the back of it with Ed Bowley?
I've seen one or two. I haven't, as I say, I have a tendency to flick in and out. I'll watch one episode, then won't watch anything for ages.
The Car Trek things, like I think they call it their love letter to vintage Top Gear, and it's like a vintage Top Gear special but done in America and with the three YouTubers. And it is better than the more modern iteration of Top Gear and arguably most of the Grand Tour as well. It was really worth a watch if you've not seen it. What about you, Phil? You know what YouTube is?
Is it like going to the pictures?
Yeah,
but not
it's in
quite so
colour,
long, yeah.
and you can do it from there.
Well, what I do like about YouTube, and I do watch a lot on YouTube, is the fact that with my limited concentration span, with my deteriorating brain and all that, some things are just 6-7 minutes long.
Yeah.
Unless, of course, it's one of my favourite presenters, which is Seen Through a Glass, Sam Fain. He can make videos last an hour. But they do engage me. I do enjoy his videos. I find him one of the more interesting people to watch. Similar to Ed, a more civilised version of JM would be Dominic Brunt on the Car Guys. Do like to watch him, even though he's pretty much Italian-dominated.
Is that the Drive Every Ferrari guy?
Yes.
Yeah, he's good.
Yeah. And I like the snippets from Top Gear as well that feature on YouTube. They're always... And again, they're not. You don't have to get involved in the whole program. You can watch 5 minutes and come back to it whenever. Watch it while you're waiting for a podcast to finish. And excuse me, it's just.
Were you inspired by JM today, Phil?
Well, am I glistening? And I've got room in this shirt.
Poor Jay, he always gets those comments. He usually refers to it, doesn't he, on his chat? So, quick fire round then. Phil, what was your favourite Top Gear special?
Was it Patagonia? The one where they had to build a bridge?
Best not talk about that. There was a few bridge building ones that caused...
Yeah, it was Patagonia anyway.
Okay. The main bridge one was the bridge over the River Kwai, wasn't it?
Which
they got in trouble over.
Yeah, was that Vietnam?
Yeah, something like that.
Whether all the trucks got damaged on the way out.
Yes, they did it on lorries, didn't they? Yeah. What about you, Chris? Favourite Top Gear special?
North of the Nile and the fish feed the tribe. Because there was nothing better than the water tank in the back of the boat.
Oh yeah, and the drying rack on the motorbike.
Yeah, that was the Grand Tour, wasn't it? Ed, what's your favourite Top Gear?
Probably the Vietnam special, to be fair.
On the bikes?
When we went out to Halong Bay and all around there.
That was a good one. I really like the Middle East one where they bought the 3 convertibles and did the Christmas drive across. That was quite good. But, in terms of car YouTube that I watch, well, most of the ones you guys have mentioned, Seen Through Glass, Sam Fain, even though his intro is a bit annoying, Ed does a good impression. But his content's excellent. He's got fantastic taste in cars, really good. JM, I really like. Auto Alex is decent. Harry Metcalf, as Ed left me space for, is probably my favourite. I think he's a really good automotive journalist, and I think from a business perspective and all that kind of thing, I find him a bit of an inspiring character. How he started Evo magazine and how he, came from nothing really as trained as a farmer. It's not like he's inherited it through family or anything like that. So I find him quite a, inspiring character. Chris Harris on cars is good content as well. Number 27, always enjoyed his videos. He's a interesting guy, but I like Italian cars. He does a lot of Italian cars, so that's always good. You can usually
didn't he have a 308?
That's actually what got him famous, wasn't it? The 308. Sort of famous. Oh, and of course, my favourite YouTube content is, I don't know if you... There we go. Is obviously the Late Break Show, and Johnny Smith, obviously. Not just because he pays me rent, but... absolutely. So, but no, joking aside, the quality of Johnny's videos are really good, aren't they? They're like TV level production. And he's really well known. Everyone seems to like him in the industry, so his stuff's quite cool. Even if we are a bit biased because he rents space in our unit. So there we go. Okay, excellent.
Is there any chance of seeing Ed's impression of Sam Fain before we move on?
I'll see if I can.
I don't think I can do it today. I think it's going to be terrible. I'll practice for next time.
Okay, look forward to that. Perhaps for the next video, we could get you to do the intro in the style of Sam Payne. Maybe that's a running theme. All of us can take one YouTuber at a go. Phil's already done JM today, so excellent. So next point. We did Ferrari first week, Lamborghini last week. Let's talk about Porsches at the moment. We kind of have talked about Porsches quite a bit, but we obviously host a car and coffee event once a month. And if you had to pick one brand that dominates it, it'd absolutely be Porsche. If you went to other car meets around the country, I would bet that the majority of, if you looked at for one brand, that stood out, it's going to be Porsche. If you're out driving, around the Peak District or anywhere else, the most car, if you had to pick one manufacturer again, you're going to see is Porsches. And I guess it just raised the question, why is Porsche so dominant in this, car enthusiast scene? What is it about Porsche that, makes that happen? And yeah, there's a bit of a thought process there. So I don't know, Chris, do you want to start off with? You've got any theories?
I think because you move up, I guess you can move up through the range of cars, but to me, the only everyday car you can drive, which is a sports car, is probably a Porsche. You can go through, you've got your BMWs, your M3s, your Audis, your RS and stuff, but when you get to that point of where you want a true sports car, the only car you're probably going to drive every day is a Porsche.
Interesting. Yeah. I mean, they are good for that, aren't they? I mean, they are sort of the
Well, you even nearly waned over. You've started going that way.
Well, I have had.
Because your Ferrari keeps breaking down. Every Italian car breaks down.
Yeah. True. Well, as we've got a Porsche in the screen in the background there behind Mr. Hesketh. What's your take on this? Why do you think?
Well, I'm going to have to say, not referring to this one, obviously, it's reliability. You can drive one anywhere, and you can, if there is anything goes wrong with it, you can go into almost any garage, and someone can fix it for you. And they're not terribly expensive to repair. The parts are no more expensive than a normal, pretty much run-of-the-mill car. And the other thing I find with Porsches, and the reason that there is such a community, is that they are almost anybody can own one. So you could buy a Porsche for sub 10,000 up to, well, look at the Singers, over $1 million. So almost any car enthusiast can afford one. You may have to sell a kidney or something, but even so, you can get a reasonable quality car for not a lot of money. Going back to the trip that I did at the weekend, the Cayman that came with us, it's 15 years old, absolutely immaculate, really good condition, very reliable, didn't miss a beat throughout the 1,000 miles we did, and it's a sub £20,000 car. What other sports car are you going to get for sub £20,000 with that level of reliability? And going back to the earlier on in the chat, the amount of community that goes along with it. And I've from all the meets that I've been to, the Porsche community is amazing. Some of the people we all know, Matt and Jerry Akari, they're great Porsche people.
And close friends as well.
Yes, and they'll welcome us with open arms.
Yeah.
Similar tastes.
You're right. I mean, you kind of stole a bit of the point I was going to make about the fact that there's such a broad spectrum of ownership potential, because you can probably buy a usable Porsche for what, £3,000-4,000 at the bottom end, like either a very early Boxster or a 944 or something like an automatic 944, like whatever the spec is, the cheaper end of it, and you can go up to Carrera GTs or Singers and things like that. There's a huge spectrum, so it kind of covers everyone. And the community is a really good point, like you've made there, that if you go to a Porsche event, the guy in the £3,000 Boxster is as welcome as the guy in the £250,000 GT3 RS or something, and they're all mingling together, and there's no sort of like, oh, you've got the rubbish Porsche, I've got the good one kind of thing. Everyone's as interested in each other's stuff, which is really good. Reliability is an interesting point, though, I will say, because I've had a few Maseratis, and a lot of people, if you have a Maserati, everyone's like, oh, has it gone bang? And yeah, it probably has, but the engine hasn't gone, right? You don't see many Maserati Grand Sports, for instance, or Gran Turismos for sale with a new engine. You never see that. But try and find a 996 or a 997, 911 that's not had an engine rebuild for sale. And, that's costing as much as the car's worth. I don't think they're as reliable as everybody thinks they are.
The only thing I would say, Lewis, is the average Maserati for sale has got 30,000 miles. The average 996 has got 150,000 miles. So I suppose there's...
Although, all I would say is that even if a 996 with 30,000 miles might have had a replacement engine.
Yeah.
They had a few faults that were caused major catastrophic engine failure, and I feel like people worry about other brands that don't have those problems, basically. I mean, within the group, there's a Maserati Grand Sport, it used to be mine, and it's on 90,000 miles now. And despite the owner very carelessly driving it through a river, the engine is still totally fine, feels really healthy, and yeah, it's had, it takes maintenance and all that kind of thing, but they're quite a robust car, and I just...
It does only drive around Ignition's premises, though.
It doesn't go far, does it?
No. He does need to use it a bit more, doesn't he?
It'd be great if he came on here and told us about his Maserati experience.
If only he would watch or listen to this, then...
Yes.
That would be good, yeah, so it's an interesting thing about Porsche. I've got a few Italian cars, and they're all a complete nightmare at the moment. I've said this on the first chat, I think, that I sort of get to the point of hating them. They're gradually getting fixed, but the idea of just getting in something and going for a drive and not having to be under it all the time is really appealing, and that's why I think about Porsches. But I have owned a few. I had a 997 Carrera S. I had that heap of junk in the back of Phil's screen briefly. I had a Boxster, and I've got a Taycan at the moment, which I'm not really going to include because it's not really the type of enthusiast car we're talking about. But the thing that a lot of people like about them, the everyday usability, when I had that 997, was kind of the thing I didn't like about it, was when I get in it and drove to the shops, I could have been in a Golf. And when you want to use a car every day, that's very nice. You don't want it to be highly strung and a pain in the neck and everything. But when it was a weekend toy, it felt too normal. So I guess my view on like Porsches now is I probably either want like a GT3 or something that's quite, screaming fire breathing type thing, or something classic, and then the classics add like an element of charm and sort of something to it. But yeah, that's my view on it. Who hasn't talked Porsche? Is it your turn, Ed?
It is, yeah. I thought the first thing to start with would be to talk about sort of why I think people buy Porsches in the first place. And I think there's two things. There's like the history of... I think there's like a history of Porsche, isn't there? It's a historic brand, and the 911 has evolved through sort of 50 years plus, hasn't it now? I think it's a sort of aspirational brand, and I think the fact that it's aspirational, like you say, you pick one up for a few £1,000s, makes it quite appealing because you can sort of climb the ranks of Porsche. Most of the other points you've touched on, so I'd written down perceived reliability.
Perceived.
I've looked at a couple of Porsches at the sort of cheaper end of the market. Yeah, looked.
On eBay.
And for me personally, Boxsters, I didn't find particularly fun. Sort of older Boxsters, to be fair. But I remember test driving a 996. It was just a Carrera, wasn't it? It was just Carrera 2. And I actually really liked that. And it felt quite right. For a car that was, I think, £12,000. It felt like a good car. But I think they've got to be sorted out. I think, you really want one which had an engine rebuild already, don't you? Because it's probably a ticking time bomb. So, I think that's why they're popular, because they're easy to get into, they're perceived to be reliable, and they are a good fun car.
Yeah, no, I think you're all right there. And so I guess what we're saying is it makes complete sense why there's so many Porsches out there. the thing that Chris was pointing to was his 350Z, and the Japanese cars seem to be like a good argument against the cheap to buy, reliable, fun to drive car. But for me, the thing they lack is an element of prestige, which Porsche's definitely got, and the interior quality.
It's like a van.
Yeah, they just feel very
Van steering wheel,
don't they? And it's not just the Nissans; it's like Japanese. I've had quite a few Japanese cars, and in general, they just feel like that. Whereas the Porsches feel it's very Germanic, but they feel so well put together inside, and it's all leather. It's not really plastic. There's no rattles. It feels like a quality, luxurious product, doesn't it?
And you don't have to worry about it disintegrating with rust overnight. Well, certainly not anything newer than the 911 has got.
Not as quickly.
Yeah. Okay. Good. So it makes sense, and we all actually really want a Porsche, but I don't buy one because I like to be a bit different, and Ed doesn't buy one because he doesn't actually buy.
You have bought one. You have bought one.
That's true. We don't like to talk about it.
One thing I get about Porsches from non-Porsche people, if that's the right word, is they see this one behind me and go, "Oh, couldn't you afford a new one?" And I thought, if only you knew how much a classic Porsche actually costs to run.
Yeah, you could finance a new one for less than.
Yes,
You said they were no more expensive than any other brand. You could go buy parts easily.
They are no more expensive. Just depends how you want it to be. Reliable.
He got confused between us and his wife there as to who he was telling.
Don't forget, all the parts are only £50.
That's right. It's no worse.
Yeah, all that carbon fibre was standard, wasn't it?
Good. Right, so on to our regular conversation point, dream drives, which we've had a couple of. No, I think we only had one. We did one last week, didn't we? Which Ed ruined for us. I mean, did a fantastic job. That was really good. So each week, one of us picks a dream drive, where we're going on some kind of road trip somewhere, and we choose a vehicle that we're going to go in, and the rest of us are going to come along with that person on that trip, but we have to buy a comparable car, but at 3 different budget points. So one of us is at 0 to 25,000, one is at 25 to 50,000 pounds, and one is then 50 to 100,000 pounds. And the idea is just to give, a different look at, what cars you could get for different budgets. Because the reality is, amongst friendship groups, everyone has different budgets that they want to spend on a car. So when you go for a drive, what can you go in that's similar right across the spectrum? I guess that's the idea of it. So last week it was Ed's turn. This time it's Phil's. Phil, where are we going, and what's the theme?
Well, I'll set the scene. First of all, I quite like a James Bond movie, so I thought we'd go and visit some James Bond filming locations in Switzerland. Again, Switzerland, beautiful scenery. To get there, you drive through a couple of countries. Hopefully, it's going to have some nice weather. So I thought, we're going to go in convertibles. I know Bond didn't particularly use convertibles in most of the films. That's not the point. We're going to do some passes. So again, convertibles not ideal for passes, but they are for posing, especially when there's 4 good-looking fellas as us.
Oh yes.
So also, I thought, well, we could all buy a convertible, and we need to make them a little bit more personal. So the personal statement I'm making is that we buy one within 2 years of our age. So my birth year was in the 70s, and I've bought myself a very cheap, badly converted Mercedes, which I'm hoping Nurse has got a photograph of to put up shortly. It's sub £10,000, and I think it's going to be perfect for cruising down and doing the Sustons Pass, and any other passes we choose. Perhaps pulling in at the Belvedere Hotel, having a very expensive ice cream there. And all feeling like we are James Bond and part of a movie.
It'd have to be very expensive ice creams. I think you'd have to buy the hotel and renovate it at the moment.
Well, we could go to the little cafe over the road.
Oh, yes. Yeah. Do you remember with the high-quality chicken sandwich?
Yeah, cash only.
Yeah.
Cash only, yeah. But did accept pounds, didn't he?
I think he'd take anything.
I was just trying to find the car in question that you sent through. So it's a Mercedes-Benz 250 CE convertible. And it's up for sale for £9,500 currently on Auto Trader. Well, I'll put the link up. 19,000 miles. I don't know anything about that car. It's automatic, and it's a 2.5 litre. That's all I can see on there. So
Yeah, you can't, unless you read the description, you can't see that it did have a roof when it was born, and it's
really?
been, yeah.
Ah, okay.
So actually, technically, we didn't need to buy a convertible because we're allowed to cut the roof
We
off.
could have made one.
Yeah, but it's got to be a convertible. It's got to be converted.
Right.
You can't just go about it with the jaws of life, you know.
Oh, okay. Fair enough. So who had 0 to 25,000? Was it you, Chris?
That'd be me.
Oh, go on then. So what are you bringing on this trip?
I had a choice of 2 cars, did a bit of research, and I was born in 79, so I had a little bit of a challenge, but I looked at 2 different cars in the end. One was a Mercedes SL, which came within the price range, but I did settle on a 1978 MGB in dark green, manual, 5-speed, with an SD1 V8, so the Rover V8 and a 5-speed gearbox. And the connection, I went a little bit further maybe than others. Obviously, you see my name, Christopher Lee. I decided it had to be out of The Man with the Golden Gun, which obviously had Scaramounger, done by Christopher Lee. And I have to admit, it wasn't driven by Bond, but it was driven by a Bond girl, Mary Goodnight, within the film. So that was my choice. And I thought it was a pretty good car to take, especially with the V8. I think it's actually lighter than the original iron block in there. And I just thought that would be a pretty sweet car to take on those passes.
Oh, I think that's a brilliant connection, Chris. Well done.
He's put some effort in there, hasn't he? He's
He really has.
put us to shame. The B series. I had an MGB once, and the standard 1.8 B series engine's an absolute turd. But I think the V8 is supposed to be quite good. So yeah, that sounds quite a cool car to come on the trip. Yeah,
it's in Ireland, sadly, but I'd have a little road trip to go get it.
I've done that before. It's pretty decent. Good way to buy a car. Now, just before I introduce Ed of what he was going to do, me and Ed are born the same year, and I before we were sort of picking the cars, I'd sort of picked one. And I was like, oh, I bet Ed's going to go for that as well. So, what did you, Ed, or what did you go for?
I believe I did, yes. So, obviously, I was trying to think of 1980s, sort of mid-1980s James Bond cars, and I was thinking about sort of cult cars from James Bond, and there was one car which showed up, and I was actually shocked by how cheap they still were, which were Lotus Esprit Turbos. And I found they seem to be selling quite quickly, because one I found less than a week ago is now sold, but I found a replacement green and cream Esprit Turbo for 36,500, which is beautiful. And it's quite a quick car. It's obviously only a 4-cylinder, but it's 2.2 turbo with 264 horsepower, which apparently is good for 0 to 60 in less than 5 seconds and 160 miles an hour. I thought the problem would be the fact that it's not a convertible, but I didn't realise this, but we've got removable roof panels, so I think that ticks the box on the convertible.
I don't know. I think that's disqualification.
I'm not sure. It's quite a big removable section. So, so yeah, that's me.
Well, that's pretty cool, and that's like genuinely a car I'd like to own. The other two, not so much, but definitely.
You snob.
Well, I've had an MGB already, so I can comment on that with authority.
You best have the Merc then.
Good. Well, I didn't necessarily think that having a car from Bond was part of it. I know we're going on a Bond tour, but I don't think Phil did either. Actively.
No, it's not part of. It's not part of the criteria.
No, so I mean, you wasted your time there, guys. Really, but no. So, I was thinking about it because I was thinking about an Esprit, like Ed was looking at, and I sort of not so much. So yeah, I think you said 2 years either side, didn't you, Phil? So for me, it'd be 85 to 89. And my budget's 50 to 100,000. So I had a good look around. There's a lot of sort of Targa Porsches in my price bracket. Some some Jags, there was a Mercedes in every price bracket for a convertible for whatever year you wanted to be, it seemed. So that was quite good. But I always like something a bit different, and ideally Italian if I can. So I've gone for a 1986 Lamborghini Jalpa, which I'll put a picture of in a second because I don't know if you guys even know what that is. But it's a mid-engine V8 Lamborghini, so it was the baby Lambo at the time. I can't remember what, I was just looking it up. They started a range of these, which I think, I'm not sure if it was the Urraco, which was the first one, but there was a bit of a lineage of these mid-engine V8 Lamborghinis. They sold next to none. I was just looking to see if I can see what the production numbers were. But they sort of had a in-house built small capacity V8. So this one's 3.5 litres. I was just trying to see if I
410.
400. I mean, that's nothing, isn't it? And I think over like all of the cars that were in that range. So I think there was the Silhouette, the Jalpa, the Urraco. I can't remember what some of the other ones were. But you're talking about in the low, like 1,000 to 2,000 cars, I think, across all of those models, and they had a custom-made engine for them, which is quite impressive. And this one's a Targa, so again, kind of counts, I think, on the convertible side of things, and it's yellow. And I thought, it's a Lamborghini. They look like they should have like weapons poking out the side of like the vents and rocket launchers and things. It'd be quite a good Bond baddie car. Like Phil's clearly gone for a Bond girl car. The one that Bond sleeps with, and she ends up being dead the next day.
We're going to race, Lewis.
That's right. But I'll go for the Bond baddie. But yeah, 69,995 sounds like a bit of a bargain for me for something really, really rare, unusual. Lamborghini, but we talked about Lamborghinis last week. I feel like this fits into the category of the enthusiast cars Lamborghini, not the...
It's really niche, isn't it?
It is properly niche. Most people are not going to recognise it as a Lamborghini. It's got fantastic looking wheels, and I've seen, in fact, talking about YouTubers, I think number 27 did a video on one of these at some point, and the engine sounds fantastic on them. So that's my choice for Dream Garage. I'm quite looking forward to doing those roads, Phil. They're good fun. I think
we should do them some more. Yes.
Well, I think we should leave it to the comment sections whether a Targa should be allowed, because it's only a semi-convertible.
I think we won't talk about semis. I was going to say.
I think I'm going to change grade. Sunburnt head, then that's all okay.
Very good. So next week I'm going to do the Dream Car Challenge, and you guys are going to select your things to come with me. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to tell the literally 10 people who are going to watch this video what it is, so they can join in next week and give us some suggestions for what you think what you'd bring along, and perhaps we'll pick one and figure out some kind of prize TBC for it, whether it's some food for ignition or a free ticket or something. I don't know. We'll figure it out. If you don't live locally, we'll figure something out. So where are we going? Start off with my favourite, one of my favourite roads in Europe, not necessarily purely for the technicalities of it, but just for the whole experience of it, the scenery, some nice twisty bits, really good technical, but just like the whole route is fantastic, which is Route Napoleon. So we're going to do that in the south of France, but we're going to do it as part of a trip. So we're going to drive out there across the motorway first, get to Route Napoleon, down to the south of France, all that kind of thing. And we're taking classic GT cars. That's the challenge, boys, which is going to be an interesting one for some of the lower budgets. You're going to have to be a bit creative, I think. I'm taking I'm not going to tell you, actually. We'll tell you next week. But classic GT cars, your challenge is to find something that is pre-1979. It must have the engine in the front, more than 6 cylinders, and have 2 doors. That's your challenge. Phil,
does it have to be reliable if it's got to get to Route Napoleon?
That's up to you. You can fix it before you go, maybe. I would recommend air conditioning, is all I'm saying, which again, pre-79 is a challenge. We're doing it in the middle of summer.
Because anything you choose is not going to get there.
It is a brand that
has anything yet you've chosen actually gone in yet? Actually got there without some signs of breaking down?
They've all got there. That's all I'll say. That's all I'll say.
Did they get back?
Most
on a truck.
most.
And that's not on the AA.
No, absolutely not. So, Phil, you're going to be doing 0 to 25,000. So you've got the
Thanks.
most challenging one. Chris, 25 to 50, and this could be challenging for Ed. 50 to 100.
No, I should have. Mine's the big one. My turn.
Challenging.
Can I take multiple cars?
If you can find multiple that fit that criteria, yeah. So that's the challenge for next week, which should be a good one. Okay, I think we've rattled on long enough to this week. Hopefully, we've not bored everyone to sleep. So just a quick round of any other business. Anything anybody else wants to talk about? Phil, anything?
No, I've got nothing to say today. Thank you.
No rant today.
No, nothing at all. No other business.
Our customers are safe. Ed?
No, nothing today, thank you.
Chris?
We did go see a certain film in the week, which we did forget about in terms of and not the Disney film, which came out in 2021, but Lucas Seeing Red, which, if you haven't seen it, well worth going. I haven't stopped talking about it to people. Just actually the history and what you actually learn about him is pretty epic, to be truthfully honest.
Yeah, I feel the same. So it's about Luca de Montezemolo, who was Ferrari's right-hand man, Enzo Ferrari's right-hand man, and then eventually ended up running Ferrari, didn't he, in the 90s and early 2000s, but did loads of things, which was amazing. And it's been produced by Manish Pandey, who is part of the Chris Harris podcast team. You know, our direct rivals, as I'm sure. We're stealing those 10 watches off of them. They'll be furious. But no, I found it inspirational, to be honest. So, yeah, like I say, I've been telling everyone about it. They're all sick of hearing about it. But I don't know, it's going to come out in some kind of format at some point, I guess, on Netflix or something. And when it is, we'll have perhaps a screening at Ignition, because it's well worth a watch. Okay, good. Well, I think that's everything. So thank you, everyone, for bearing with us. Hopefully the audio is a bit better this week. If you've got anything, any comments you want to share, please put them below so that we can see. Give us some feedback on the chat. Hopefully positive. But if there's anything you think we need to change or make better, we'd welcome that feedback, as long as it's in good spirit. So yeah, please keep watching. Please subscribe. That really helps us. Leave a comment, like it if you can. That would be great. And we'll speak to you next week. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Yes.
Thanks.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Good night.